Welcome back, everyone, to another podcast about Michigan basketball. Today, we will be discussing a just really sad story that's broken over the news regarding Michigan basketball. I'd call this about worst case scenario for the team, other than a COVID outbreak. Um, but Isaiah Livers against Maryland exited the game. He played 15 minutes in the Big Ten quarterfinal win, and he didn't look like himself. I noticed during the game. He didn't score. He didn't do much of anything offensively, and he was a liability defensively. Well, it turned out that he had re aggravated a stress fracture in his right foot that initially occurred on New Year's Eve against the same team against Maryland that he had played through for the entire season. It's just so unfortunate. This timing is so unfortunate because stress fractures generally take 6 to 8 weeks to heal. Livers was ruled out indefinitely before our game against Ohio State, the Big Ten semifinal. At that time, it was dubious that he would be able to return, and since that time, it has become even less likely. He himself said that it would be a miracle. Uh, it's clear that it's a rather serious injury that he's dealing with, and obviously, for an NBA draft talent like Isaiah Livers is, you don't risk your potential career by playing on a broken foot. It's not safe. Unless he's really heals quickly, it's unlikely that he will play again this season. Now, this is truly disastrous for Michigan basketball. I was talking about Eli Brooks being really bad. If he couldn't play with his ankle injury, this is really worse than Eli Brooks. Um, Obviously, Isaiah Livers is more than just a scorer. As you can see here, he is one of the three team captains on Michigan. I'd say he's the de facto leader of this team when he's on the floor, just with his demeanor, his leadership ability, and his off court presence is just remarkably. He's a remarkable guy. He's intelligent. He speaks just so well in his press conferences. He seems like a great guy, and he's a hometown kid from Kalamazoo, Michigan, a 4-year player, really a beloved member of this team. Obviously, he brings talent. He's our second leading scorer. He was an All Big Ten second team player. He's one of the best shooters I've ever watched at Michigan. Behind only, I've said, Nick Stauskas. And he's just an athletic and exciting finisher, as it says right there. And he came back for a senior year instead of going to the NBA draft, which I was really proud of him for doing. A lot of guys would have gone, and it would have been the wrong move for him to go. He came back, and he's had a great year. Looks like he's gone. That's just that's just a fact of the matter. And Michigan's still a number one seed in the NCAA tournament, so there's still hope. Now, Michigan, I'm going to talk about how we try to replace Isaiah Livers because it's not easy. He takes up normally 35 minutes a game when he's healthy. Replacing that will not be an individual effort. As Juwan Howard noted today, this is a collective effort. Everyone's going to get minute increases. Guys are going to be asked to do a lot more on the court than they normally do. Certain players in particular, such as Brandon Johns and Terrence Williams, are going to need to step up in the NCAA tournament if Michigan has hopes of reaching the Final Four or Big Dance title game. I think on the Michigan roster, the starter who will replace Isaiah Livers was determined against Ohio State, and I wasn't surprised when Brandon Johns stepped into that role. Um, Brandon Johns was a capable player last season. He had a really rough start to this season. His role was reduced to the point where he wasn't playing in the second half of many games, and that was kind of discouraging for me to see because that meant Michigan was rolling with a 7-man rotation, a 6-man rotation at times when Austin Davis was injured, and that clearly isn't feasible in the long run. So Brandon Johns will be starting, I think, and he's an athletic player. He has the ability to hit a jumper from outside. He's obviously not Isaiah Livers, but Brandon brings a physicality that Michigan could use against the better rebounding teams. He's a very good rebounder. He's a very capable defensive player, and he's very physical. So I'm not too upset about him getting more minutes. I think it's beneficial for Michigan, and I think it's beneficial for the state of Brandon Johns' game. The other person that I think will see a significant increase in playing time is Terrence Williams, who really was getting a lot of coaches' decision uh, scratches, healthy scratches. He wasn't playing. They didn't call him healthy scratches. He just didn't play in games. And he had started. He was playing in the initial portion of the season against the non-conference schedule, and even in our Michigan's early Big Ten games. But he fell out of the rotation for much of the second half of the season, only getting in here and there. Uh, and he's an exciting player. He still has a lot of work to be done. He's not polished offensively, but he's very physical. He's very athletic, and he has great enthusiasm. And I can tell he has a great motor for the game of basketball. He is someone who will work his butt off, and he will improve. He's going to have to improve in a hurry, though, because he will be getting 10 to 15 minutes a game, I assume, in the NCAA tournament, which is going to be a big ask of him just to get quality minutes on the court for Michigan. Doesn't need to do too much. Doesn't need to be taking any threes. Doesn't need to be making any flashy plays. Just play solid defense. Be an option out there. Maybe Zeb Jackson gets a bump in minutes. Just maybe, because Michigan will need some someone to come out of the woodwork here. But I don't see Zeb Jackson getting much in the way of minutes for the NCAA tournament. He wasn't good enough this season. He will be a factor next year, but he's not going to be one this year. And yeah, I think Terrence Williams, Brandon Johns, two names that will really be important if Michigan wants to make a run to the Final Four national championship game. I'll make a video probably tomorrow talking more about Michigan's bracket. Today was an update on Isaiah Livers. It looks bad. It looks bad. He's unlikely to play again, and that's been in the news, so that's not a huge surprise. But Michigan will need to replace him, and I'm looking at you, Brandon Johnson, looking at you, Terrence Williams, obviously Franz Wagner, obviously Hunter Dickinson. Those guys will need to step up their level of play as well in the NCAA tournament. But without Isaiah Livers, it's going to be a collective effort. Michigan's weakened, but they're not killed. They have the ability, they have the talent still on this team to make a run. So I'm really sad to see this. Isaiah Livers was my favorite player, and it's just sucks. It sucks. What has happened? Injuries suck, as Brad likes to say. But it is what it is. Michigan will still fight in this tournament. Mark my words. We're still going to show some fight. Should have beat Ohio State without Isaiah Livers. Michigan can still beat any team in the country, with maybe the exception of Gonzaga on a good day. But that's neither here nor there. Thanks for watching, everyone. Prayers up for Isaiah Livers. Brad says Michigan. He doesn't think Michigan can recover. He said that, and I disagree with him. But we'll see. The tournament's about to happen. Go Blue, and good night.